Me exactly what I needed. So I'm going to start over here at the very end, to my left, probably your right, with Kelly McKell. Is it McKell or Michael? Okay, because I do that. Okay. Kelly Michael Williams. He's an entrepreneur, inventor, and author. Kelly Michael Williams is a dedicated public servant, advocate, and community leader. During more than 25 years in D.C., Kelly Michael has served in all levels of government, from the White House to D.C. Council and his local neighborhood commission. He is an entrepreneur and visionary. Kelly Michael is owner, partner of the Strand Restaurant, that's here in D.C., an author, inventor with a patent pending, and visionary seeking the opening of a credit union in 2026. Nice, yeah. Kelly Michael currently serves as chairman of advisory ANC, but I'm gonna break it down. Chairman of Advisory Neighborhood Commission in Ward 8, is that correct? In Ward 8, Washington, D.C., which is, if you know D.C., his Ward 7 and Ward 8 carry a reputation of being the best wards in D.C. So him being the ANC for Ward 8 in Congress Heights, Southeast D.C., is the platform to do a lot of good work in the community. So I look forward to working with Mr. Williams to do policy workshops in Ward 8. So I'm gonna, here you go. I definitely said that I was going to do brief introductions and people could read your program inside the agenda, but just as brief as I spoke about Mr. Williams, I will switch up my little rule, and if you could introduce yourselves. This is wonderful Thaddeus, this is Dr. Bella, this is Dave Anderson that came from Philly, and Apostle Marquita. So let's do ladies first. So Bella, go ahead.
You guys know a little bit about me. Another insight about me is that I am working on just bringing in interns about financial literacy. So I am definitely doing my part in digging all the way down and bringing everyone all the way up. So I go into charter schools in Los Angeles and I stand before them and I talk about entrepreneurship, because in order for us to grow our economy, we definitely have to put the money where, you know, our knowledge is, and it starts with the youth. So
thank you kindly. And Apostle Marquita?
All right, I'm Apostle Marquita Brooks. I lead the Truth in the Spirit, which I founded 24 years ago, which is a ministry for transformation and empowerment internationally. So I cover other ministries as well and train leaders. I also lead a few other ministries, and I'm a Class A construction contractor for a flooring business. I have a business coaching business, a Bible-based business coaching business, and a networking business for kingdom entrepreneurs, just really teaching about wealth from a biblical perspective and helping people to build businesses and enterprises and ministries from that perspective. I'm a published author and motivational speaker, and I'm on the Minority Policies Task Force.
Yes, awesome. And so let's also have Mr. Dave Anderson. He's our guest here in DC, and he has a show that's called The Business Bully. And I grew up in Philly, so I have an affinity for the Broad Street Bully, and I like that he also went to Temple. So I mean, I'll let him talk about himself briefly. Thank you, Con.
Hi, I'm Dave Anderson. I'm a best-selling author, business coach, speaker. My clients last year did a combined $150 million in net revenue, so I'm just here to lend a hand.
Awesome. He said what?
$150 million in net revenue combined. Mostly black people, mostly black women, but.
Yep. You know, and our dear friend, and I have to say friend because he's not just a panelist, he is a huge supporter of FSIC, so.
I only have one complaint. I came to the first FSIC meeting. I believe was it 3 years ago, and I had just had hip surgery and I was on a walker, and Brady keeps using that same picture. So like to update that photo.
Okay.
My name is Thaddeus Dawson. I'm the founder of 10,000 Black Appraisers and the 10,000 Minority Appraisers Foundation. We have the first appraisal apprenticeship program in the country certified through the Department of Labor. And last year we were able to place 21 students into internships with the U.S. Forest Service. Our goal was to do 50 this year. Don't know where that stands right now. We've been working primarily with the 1890 land-grant colleges, introducing real estate and appraising as a career alternative. We just recently wrote the 3-hour land valuation course for the Policy Center, which is housed out of Alcorn State from the USDA. And they have a series called Train the Trainer, which is for heirs property training. And we wrote 3 hours of the land valuation course for that. And we actually presented last week at the Policy Center's board meeting in Houston. So I'm blessed to be on some boards to try to affect change, but it is about educating the next generation and being able to empower them. Real estate appraising, over 65% of the industry is over 50, and less than 7% is under 35 years old. And so the biggest problem with appraising is the model is updated, and it can be updated through data science utilizing evidence-based, data-driven analysis. I just gave you the demographics of the age. The old folks don't want to learn how to do that, and they refuse to get out the way. So in the next 2 to 5 years, our students will be coming online and will be the future, and we'll be able to make this happen.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Thaddeus. I think just by what he said, I don't want to spend a lot of time focusing on problems. I wasn't even supposed to moderate this panel, so if you see, it's Keevan's picture. But, you know, working with them, I have some insight to a lot of different areas. And one of the issues with in all of these different institutions is that shift from, you know, in age, right? You have this baby boom generation that sees things one way and not really interested in change because I have wisdom and I know everything and you need to listen to me because I went through it like this and this is how I was about to go through. But then that blocks, that's a barricade to entry for a younger generation, whether it's a millennial or a Gen Z. We have to really, really start making connections across the board and not allowing these, you know, structures to keep us separated. So I think that's a great point that you made, Thaddeus. Yes.
One other thing I'd like to say is this conference right here exemplifies that by Dr. Steele passing the baton on to DeMarc. So I don't want that to go unnoticed. It doesn't negate Dr. Steele's significance. It enhances it because he can tell him about stuff he ain't even thought of happening because he's seen it. And I've seen it firsthand. So we have to do a much better job of our succession planning because we're not going to be here forever. And I just want to applaud Dr. Steele and DeMarc. So I'm very happy and thankful to be a part of this.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes. And I agree. Dr. Steele is one of my favorite people with FSIC. So we have different institutions that we're talking about, are like from churches to banks and to HBCUs and the problems. And so I think different people on this panel are more versed in some. And even though the overall issue is how do we, you know, advance in terms of advocacy and doing the work, but I think I would like to start with Dave Anderson because he has a very, I guess, a whole viewpoint that is really like, he even found him and he was like, we got to get him here because his energy about it that he comes with makes you want to get up and do something. So I will start with you, sir.
Just to be clear, what's the question?
So the question
No, because I
is-
want to make sure I'm answering the
Yes,
actual
the
question, because
question-
I'll sit up here. We'll be here till cocktail hour. So
Yes.
I'm trying to be mindful of the time, people. Trying to be
time.
mindful of the
You're
time.
right. Where's my timekeeper? The question is that all of these different institutions, we have one big problem, but they have different things that make them unique.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking about the HBCU, how HBCUs, how do we, you know, what is the problem? and how do we transition out of it? We talked about this on the phone,
Sure.
but I don't want to talk about it, so.
Okay, so full disclosure, I've been working with HBCUs for the past 25 years. My daughter is a proud graduate of Howard University, and it only cost me, look at y'all, HU? Listen, for the amount of money I ran to that bursar's office, I feel like I should have got one too, you understand? I know that's right. The thing that I think people need to understand is, and this is going to upset a lot of people in the room, the boomers have to go. And what I mean by that is not the boomers who are open-minded, but the boomers who have been sitting back like a chorus line of Fiddler on the Roof, talking about tradition and talking about history and talking about all of these wonderful things and making an excuse under the guise of the HBCU experience for neglect, for lack of infrastructure, and for lack of transparency and accountability. I do not want to hear complaints from everything from athletics to academics about how we can't get money in, the alumni don't feel empowered, the alumni won't give donations, and you can't get somebody on the phone and you're paying tuition. That is a problem. When you go to other institutions, and I'm not just talking about PWIs, I'm talking about MSIs too. Those are minority serving institutions. When you go to those institutions, there's transparency and there's infrastructure. With us, there's a whole bunch of excuses and a whole bunch of uppity Negro good old boys who want to talk about the way it used to be and how it should be while they continue to collect, while they continue to post, while they continue to pose and shake hands and kiss babies, and while Howard University specifically, and this is not an attack, this is a statistical fact, in 2018 made 89th place in U.S. News and World Report, and instead of fixing the damage in the plumbing at the Tubman Quad, they went and got the gospel choirs brand new robes so they can sing about how a white magazine put them at 89th place, and they were the only HBCU included. 89th place is not getting you a medal in the Olympics, and it's not getting our people forward. So until we're ready to have those conversations, everything that we're talking about is moot. Now, here's the solution. We need to start saying, if you're not doing your job, you have to go. I have been on the campus of Tennessee State and had to get scholarships back from people taking them. I've had to do it at Howard University. I had to do it at Cheney. I had a full scholarship to Lincoln University, and the reason that I went to Temple University is because they did not have the facilities to make sure that I could get my communications degree. And so if I have to go at the end of my tutelage at my senior year to go to a white institution, why am I going to waste all of this time? That should not happen. It's not that HBCUs aren't getting the money, it's that the money is being mismanaged and it's being slushed. And we don't want to have that conversation because it's ugly, and it's about time we expose our ugly.
Yeah, I like when we clap. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Anderson. I am now going to pose the question to Apostle Marquita Brooks that, you know, when we're talking about different institutions, so now we can talk about the church, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, now we can talk about the church and its role in the Black community and what can be done. Well, let's talk about what is the main issue, and then if you could elaborate on, you know, some of the solutions and also a sustainable economic model that the churches, other churches can participate in and work collectively around that.
Thank you. So I actually going to agree with everything he just said and apply it to the body of believers globally. And it's important that we do recognize that, and I really hope somebody's keeping my time because I could talk about this till tomorrow. And so we want to thank you so much. I'm going to be looking at you right there. So if we look historically, we understand that there was power initially when the Lord came. But then we see the church actually becoming a part of the human empire. I say this all the time. You look at the chessboard and you wonder why the bishop is the piece on the game, on the board. It's because he's a player in the game, and he's not supposed to be. He's supposed to be objective, serving God. He's not supposed to be sitting at the king's table. And this is important that we recognize this, because what we see historically is that the pastor was then an agent of the state to teach the people to be in line and to do those things that follow the state agenda. The problem is Isaiah chapter 9 says that the government is on the shoulders of the Lord, which means we're supposed supposed to be operating in governmental authority. But you cannot do that if there's disorder in the body, because we've not been walking in the fivefold that you see in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 11. We haven't had the apostolic, which sets order, takes down strongholds, and address systems. We're talking about systemic address. That's what I do. You got the prophetic that's going to point out the error. It's not just about encouragement. When people tell you the prophet is only supposed to encourage you, that is a lie. That is not, it's not in the Bible. Is there supposed to be encouragement? Yes, but also edification. What does edification mean? It means to correct your morals, which means I have to be able to tell you where you're wrong. Otherwise, I'm not prophetic. When I point out where you're wrong, then I point you to God. The next thing you get is evangelism. The evangelist is going to give you some good news. But if you send the evangelist first, and the apostolic hasn't addressed the systems that are out of order, and the prophetic has not told you where you are wrong, you think you're a good person. So you don't need gospel. You don't need the evangelist. I'm good. I'm okay. My life is all right. And that's America, y'all. You don't see that in the East. It's the West. We're fine. We're good. Everything is working fine for us. So now you got shepherds shepherding people who are proud. People who think they know everything, who get on the deacon board and they're going to vote the pastor out, which is not biblical. And then you don't have a teacher that's actually teaching what the scripture says. Believers don't read the Bible. That came with the Roman Catholic Church. You can't own a Bible. Only the priest can read the Bible to you. So now that you have a Bible, you got 5 of them on your shelf, you can get it on your phone, you're not reading it. You're listening only to the leader who is teaching you from the Bible that they only read when they create their sermon. Come on now. He gave us basic instructions before leaving earth, and we do not open it. We don't understand our authority. So what's happening? All of the things everybody fought for, we're losing all of it. You know why? Because when we came out of slavery, the church was the center of the community. Not anymore. Because there's been abuses and there's been issues. Nobody trusts the church. Nobody trusts God. Disorder, all types of things out of place. But so if you've got a little church on the corner, what's your focus? Your focus is to make sure that people are tithing. That's what you're doing.
You better.
You don't read the whole old covenant, but everybody can quote Malachi chapter 3. Come on now. All of it is still relevant. You know why we've been told it's not relevant? Because the knowledge you need to know about wealth, hence kingdom wealth, my business, it's all in the old covenant. The new covenant is going to be the cheat sheet. It's like the wealth for dummies. It's expounding on the biblical foundation for building wealth, for taking regions. We're supposed to be claiming regions. When I come into a city, I claim that city because I am a kingdom authority. And you don't have to be an apostle, prophet, evangelist, pastor, teacher. Just by being a believer, you're a kingdom authority. You should be reclaiming, but not just in the emotional. Because y'all know black people, we're emotional. Feel my emotions. So what the pastor preach, I don't know, but it was good. No. You're supposed to be being transformed by the renewing of your mind so that you know what God wants. And what does God want? He wants to take whole regions. How do you take a region? The hearts and the minds of the people who have authority in that region. If you live there, if you work there, if you worship there, you have spiritual authority there. But what's happening? Babylon and Mammon have you running the rat race. Striving. That's part of the curse, y'all. Striving, Genesis 3, that's in the curse. We are free from that. I build businesses so that I can have time freedom, and I teach other people to do the same thing. So now I'm free to live the life he died for me to have, abundant life. And thank you for the time.
Listen.
That's what I'm saying, right here. They put us
Oh wow! I'm just so excited. This side, y'all ready? Because they came with it. And I have some things we'll circle back if the timekeeper lets us. I want to ask Kelly Michael Williams, especially the work that you do in DC as a whole. And I don't know if this wasn't in the bio, but he ran for Congress in DC for the DC. Well, DC is not a state. So in the House of Representatives, we have the wonderful Eleanor Holmes Norton. And this is a runner-up, and we're going to continue to support him because times change, right? And we need a voice of this current group of people. So I would like to expound on the civil rights organizations and what their role is. And again, we're kind of hitting the same points where you have these different levels of, background, and how do we create that bridge, and what is their role? Pass him the mic, please. What is their responsibility role, as especially what's happening right now in our current administration? What is the solution coming from civil rights organizations? What should they be? What should they be doing? Is that layered?
Not really.
Okay, thank you.
It is what it is. Good evening. Good afternoon, everyone. I think what we have to do is look back when the civil rights movement started and how it galvanized our communities and galvanized our efforts, because there was one vision and it moved forward. Unfortunately, now, while the words of the vision are still the same, the actions aren't. And we're looking for our civil rights organizations to do the work for us when we still need to do the work. The reason the boycotts worked then is because we did it. But now we're waiting, and we're sitting back and waiting for them to do something, and we're not supporting, contributing, or doing the things that we need to do to help and support that. At the same time, our civil rights organizations don't lobby for us, because we're not putting behind them the capacity for them to lobby. Because if I were to ask you who lobbies for Black America, who would you tell me? Okay, right, you do. You're gonna have to do it, exactly. But if I tell you who lobbies for the LGBTQ, you could tell me. If I tell you who lobbies for the Jews, you could tell me. If I ask you who lobbies for women, you could tell me. Businesses, you can tell me, right? You can tell me every other entity that lobbies for them, but you can't tell me who lobbies for us, because we don't have a collective lobby. It has to be us, or we have to establish it, put the money behind it, and then do it. Because what we've all heard today that works and operates in this country, because we're a capitalistic society, is money. How many of you contribute to campaigns?
I do. I
Okay.
do.
Yeah. Consistently. Okay? You don't contribute to the candidates you want in office, but you expect them to come and help you when they get there. And you expect them to do something, and then when they don't, you then get upset, but you never contributed to help them make it work. Perfect example. Barack Obama won in 2008, but you sat your ass home in 2010.
Woo. Comfortable.
You wanted him to do something, but he didn't get it done in 2008 and 9, and you sat on your behind in 2010, and then he couldn't do shit after that. Okay? You look back again in 2016, right? You didn't want Hillary Clinton, you go ahead, test tube, baby, get in there. But you allowed them to prevent Obama from putting a Supreme Court justice on the court, and then in 2017, he got 3 appointments. What we don't do is we don't think past the forefront of our forehead. The GOP has plans for 50 years down the road. Black America doesn't. And I'm not going to parse or get into the Democrat-Republican aspect. I'm going to just keep it real for us. We don't plan ahead to know where we're going we wait every 2-year cycles. But then we're not even consistent in the 2-year cycle, because we're looking for a president every 4 years as opposed to our mayor, our city council, our governors, our judges, everything else that impact us. Because do you know that you vote for your judges every 2 years in your counties? Prince George's County, Montgomery County. And those judges determine your sheriffs, and they're the ones that determine how, policy works, and your mayors. So when I ran in 22 or 24, I was running against a giant because everybody knew the name. But no one could tell me any policy that came out in the last 2 years, 10 years, or 4 years. Because we don't take time to investigate and understand where our future is going. We're still living in the past. Our Congress average age is 68 years old. And that's not old, but that's average because you got some 20-somethings in there. The majority of them are 80 years old and older. But then when we talk about age, we have a problem. Because we're 89, why are we still in office at 89 years old? Not saying that you can't be effective, but there's probably someone 45 can be much more effective because they have more energy. They're looking to the future, and they're bringing along the other 45-year-olds that we just said. I think my brother over here said the boomers got to go. So we need to look in those aspects and understand. So we need to support our organizations and not necessarily create 10 more other organizations that are doing the same thing, and put as they say, the souls behind it, the footwork, and the dollars. We'll fly to Paris to go see Beyonce, but you won't give your candidate $100.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think these conversations, these answers are, you're seeing the correlation, which is the lack of unification, right? And we want to work in these upcoming policy workshops that, like, if we outline what are our overall objectives for doing it, what is the outcome that we're looking for, is to unify, to, bring knowledge and awareness, and giving them the understanding of what organization and mobilizing looks like. So we have our work ahead of us. And thank you. Yes, absolutely.
This is really gonna be quick. I'm serious.
Go ahead.
That unity is so important because when we look at our success in the past, we see that it really came from various areas. And my example is like the Montgomery bus boycott. Most people don't know that every night they had church service. Every night. Every night they had church. And that wasn't just woohoo encouragement. There was a mind transformation, and there was a reminder of this is why we're doing this. Because the truth is, y'all, this is hard work.
It is.
We can't be entitled. We can't be lazy. We can't rest on the laurels of things that happened in the past. But there has to be the coming together.
Yeah.
Because each part has to do its work.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't want to, because I'm not on the panel, right? But there's the generational issue in that is how many young people go to church, right? Or how many young people go to church?
I think it's beyond church.
I mean, yes.
And it's more of helping them understand, because most young people don't even know anything about civil rights.
Right.
They haven't been taught, they haven't been, led. It's not happening in the household, it's not happening in the schools. What we have to do, like with anything else, is that you have to understand and see the value and the impact for yourself. Socially, economically, and politically.
Yes.
You cannot separate those three entities.
Right.
Anything that's social has an economic and a political impact. Anything that's political has an economic and social impact. You're not going to separate those three. So as long as you understand those three areas and you can drive and put a driving force and an understanding behind them, they will move the same way we move. We sit on our behind just as much as they do. And we don't move either because we wait for somebody else to do it, or we think that we can't do it on our own. We can do anything the same way you created your app, the same way you created your business, the same way you wrote your book, the same way, we've done anything. We've done it ourselves, and then we've collectively signed, we have, I'm sorry, how many crabs we got in this room?
I like to eat them.
Yeah, how many crabs we got in this room? Okay, since nobody raised their hand, let's stop having the crab in the barrel mentality. Okay? Because that's what we have. We're too afraid of somebody else getting by. If this brother over here got $150 million for his clients collectively, and we just talked about $7 trillion or $7 billion in contracting, put 5 darn construction companies together, stop trying to be the head, be the darn Indian, and work your ass together. That's what we have to do. And we're not doing it. But if you look at a Latino family, an Asian family, a Jewish family, anybody else, they can live in a household and they can build together and they end up buying the whole damn block in 6 years.
Well, now is a perfect opportunity for reset. And that's one of the things Kevin stressed as we worked through planning this event, was to not Trump chase, but look at this as an opportunity for a reset. And we can pinpoint where we are, and we can go back to the core. When we're talking about black people and we go back to the core, it's trauma. Trauma is the number one reason why they disconnect from all of these things. People are traumatized from this past election. You went out and voted. You were like, I'm gonna do it. I registered and I'm gonna participate this time and I gotta get involved. And then you see that it was stolen. So all of that work to get people to vote, they just like, forget it now. I mean, I know people who are baby boomers and fought for the right to vote, and they're like, I ain't doing it no more, because they're just like, they're disheartened. So how do we combat that? But I'm the moderator. So we're gonna go to, I guess so many things, like even in the black community, whether it was the church, let's bring in the black Islamic community. I mean, I don't have to say that word because that's kind of like grouping a certain group out of everything. But in our community, we have half and half. But how do we work together for a common cause, right? So that's another conversation. But I would like to ask Dr. Trabella, and I'm going to focus on banks. I'm not going to just put that on you because you're the forensic tax person. But, how do we increase the functionality in that, or even in some aspect of policy, education, making a connection under that umbrella of banks and increasing that institution?
Well, my key word is education. A lot of banks, I worked with a lot of banks in my career, and not for myself, but for the companies in which I worked for. And of course, these are million-dollar companies that are easily to write up a proposal and ask for money, and they can get it. Why? Because they are educated on how to get it. They're educated on how to get these loans. They know, and they do the work. I hate to say, and I am not just saying black people, we as a society, some of us are very lazy. And when we think about doing the work, it's daunting and it's very overwhelming. But it's only overwhelming because when you get anxious and when you get overwhelmed about something, it's because you're not prepared. When you prepare yourself for something, you can stand up in front of people and you can give all of the knowledge that you have because you've prepared for it. A lot of people can't get these loans. A lot of people can't get, these black institutions can't get the funding because they are not prepared. They are not educated. They are not putting themselves in the right rooms because they don't know. And my solution, I don't like to just point fingers. My solution is for each of us to individually heal. That big H word, nobody want to talk about it in business. Nobody want to talk about it in their households. We need to heal. And it starts with us individually. You got to start healing your families, healing your people that's in your circle first. These toxic relationships that we're building with one another, having these conversations about fear of standing before people or applying for these loans. Like, we have so much fear because of somebody else's toxicity. We have to start giving ourselves grace and putting ourselves in the right room so that we can be educated about how to move forward instead of being stuck. When you educate yourself and you put yourselves in the right room, you throw investments into yourself. We're so cheap. We don't want to pay nothing. We want everything to come to us. But let me tell you, I spent 3 years broke. 3 years, no money. Why? Because I took my 3 years sacrifice to get my doctorates in business. I wanted to know how to run a business from beginning to end. It wasn't good enough for me to know how to run their accounting system. I want to be able to get into every sector of business and know how it's ran. And I must say I do know how, but guess what? I still have to educate myself how to get into the banks, how to get these loans, how to teach these students how to put themselves in front of the people in which they're supposed to be put in front of in order to get these loans. And I can't teach them that without first telling them, you need some healing. You need to go to therapy. You need to invest in some therapy, invest in some books, read more. It's not good enough to read books that you're just going to, work because you're doing this for work. You're masking the things in which you need to do. You need to start with the adversity that you had in your childhood. People don't know how to spend money, how to manage money, because their parents didn't know how to do it. Ooh. So we need to start breaking generational curses by teaching our children how to do better with their money. Enroll you and your children into a course, if that's the case, because we need to learn how to get in front of these banks and write these proposals. And in order to do that, we have to educate ourselves. So my big thing is, and I'm not just saying this because I see that side of money from the accounting perspective. I see it from the institution perspective, even with HBCUs. I went to Florida International University for my doctorate. I went to Clark Atlanta University for my master's in accounting. And I went to Payne College for my business degree with emphasis in accounting. I went to 2 HBCUs and 1 research college. And when I tell you it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I educated myself in a broad perspective. Let's not just put ourselves in a bubble. Let's try to step outside of our box and become uncomfortable with being comfortable with being knowledgeable.
Thank you. Thank you kindly. I want to ask you a question.
Well,
So,
go
ahead, add on.
I'll take away from my time. I just wanted to jump in there. We talked about black banking. The Federation of Southern Co-ops was granted $20 million from the USDA to form the Southern Farmers Financial Association to leverage that up to $15 million. We need to make sure that that money is not frozen and that we can do that. Food security is first and foremost before we get to building wealth. And the Federation of Southern Co-op is the oldest cooperative in the country. So when we couldn't feed ourselves or when we started to vote, they kicked us off the land and we had nowhere to live. So then they came together. So cooperatively, we talked about the land trust model. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but he talked about us supporting us. I think that's imperative that we make sure that we get funding to fund them. We don't care, we do care, we need that $20 million because it belongs to us, but we need to also leverage that up to empower our farmers to be able to feed our people, and that is very, very critical. And one of the reasons why we can't or we don't have anybody advocating for us, and I'm not going to give credit where I heard John Hope Bryant say a couple weeks on Shannon Sharp. He said that it's hard to tell the truth when the lie is feeding you. So I believe if we fund ourselves, then we have an obligation to tell the truth, and it doesn't have to be watered down and stepped on.
Amen to that. Can I add one more thing? Sorry. What he's talking about, and it's blatant, it's clear to us. Farming, guess what? Land. We have to start purchasing in the things that matter. Land. If you get enough land and you start farming, you would be a part of that big group of people that are knowledgeable or that's getting educated in some type of way so that you can be in front of the dollars.
Mm-hmm. So, thank you. Thank you. If you get a chance, write it down or put it in your notes in your phone. It's called the Black Farmers Index. And this website has, if you click on your state, where all the black farmers are in your area, if you want to support them. And I'll also piggyback later when I'm not trying to be the panel to give you information about a group right here in DC that they have like if it was all of us, they have a farm and they're also teaching other people how to do it. So, Dr. Steele, you wanted to say something?
I didn't want to, but I got to.
Yeah.
First of all, we don't need to use no profanity. Number one, be respectful.
Yes.
Number two, I've been in Dr. King's position for over 20 years. Before that, I was a tough school senator, been a civil rights all my life. It disturbs me when we say without pain. It also disturbs me when you don't know the truth. Come on. I'll be well said. I spoke in Memphis last week. You always shine the light on the truth. Right. Always. First of all, racism is destroying not only Black America, but this country. Nobody talking about racism. That's right. They don't want you to have a loan at the bank. Ain't about going to school or being so educated. Educated is when you forget who you are and where you come from. What I'm talking about is that I was a state senator. I gave up being a state senator to save SCLC. Not one time, but 2 times. And thank you.
Absolutely.
For telling the truth about me passing the baton.
Yeah.
This little country boy left Tuscaloosa, Alabama, went to Atlanta, and every Negro in Atlanta think they're leader. Every Negro in Atlanta. But this little country boy came to Atlanta and saved it. Because of God first, and my wife, when I spent all the money. And I did to save SCLC. What I'm saying is that I raised $20 million in 3.5 years. Didn't I do it, Joseph?
Yes, you did.
Don't tell me about writing no draft.
That's
It's
right.
a personal relationship.
That's right.
You get in front of folks, forget the computer.
That's right.
Mr. Jones, President of Vice Chancellor, I want to meet with you. Talk to him face to face. And the spirit take over. The spirit takes over. You don't go in there cursing. You go in there letting them know you mean business. There's a little company called Mercedes-Benz.
Right.
I had a little something to do with that in Alabama. Brought Mercedes-Benz, but everybody, the Black Caucus, said we can't do it. I said we can't do it. Just shut your mouth and let me do it. So what I'm saying is that you can have the best credit. Come on, somebody. You can have the best credit in the world and not get a loan at the bank. You want something, baby? I know what I'm talking about. Because you're black. You're black.
Period.
And
Period.
America is a racist country. I close with this.
Period.
Dr. King said there's 3 ills in society. Racism, poverty, and militarism. I rest my case.
Yeah. I think, I thank you, Dr. Steele, because when you talk, people listen. And it is,
Because I do the work.
That's right.
I got a track record.
exactly, you got skin in the game. So that is when we're talking about respect. You know, you got to respect the wisdom. You got to respect the work.
And I'm a boomer.
And listen, represent. Because we don't do ageism up in here. We're not doing that. I think what we're saying is that there needs to be a connection amongst the age groups. Not put one down and no. How do we connect them? That's right. So I know that like our panels have, we go over, we go under, we're going to keep going a little bit more. But I'm going to ask Thaddeus
Man, you can't ask me to follow Dr. Steele.
Well, you know what? Let me then take the question. I'll come back. Let me take the question back to Mr. Anderson real quick. And I'm going to get straight to the money. How do we raise money? How do we raise the money? Kevin tells me about a group of white ladies, older, baby boom, and they send $25 in every month to their right-wing group so that they can push forward on legislation that they support. But how you raise this amount of million, you raising this amount of million, you raising it, like how? Tell us how to do it. Yeah.
One of the people, I don't know if it's been
Huh? Kevin's here.
Even helped bring one of the biggest grants down to South Georgia. And I'll be fly. That was 20 years ago. That was what, 2 years ago?
The grant was awarded.
It was rejected because people wouldn't accept it.
Okay. Yes.
When people are actually going in, but you gotta talk to people at the highest levels. And I'm just gonna be real quick. President Steele has had me in front of presidents.
Right.
Everybody who wants to do business with us is not here. Some of them are in Germany, some of them are gonna be in Denmark, some of them might be in Malaysia.
Right.
I'm speaking to who I met with when I was in national rep. We can't just look at it here, and when people are in power, I don't care if it's Democrat or Republican, and you're a final decision maker over $50 million, are you gonna cut us a slice of the pie?
Bottom line.
If you're a final decision maker over a $900 million budget for DOD, you gotta cut us a slice of that contract. But you gotta get face to face, that's what I believe President Scott, I can't speak for President, don't even try, but that's what it's about. But I've been in certain of those conversations, and in certain times, you have people undercutting the position before you get there. And I think that's what you were really talking about, because I've seen that, absolutely. Here's the truth of power about the HBCU point. There was a program in place to bring money to them in contracts, and a bunch of those schools turned it down. There was a program in place under broadband that was in excess of $4 billion. A bunch of them turned the money down. Now we're gonna talk about truths. Those are the truths.
Yeah.
The money that gets turned down, not by some outside source,
Yeah.
but because of internal action.
So we need to strategize. We need to strategize.
And we get problems from that.
Well-
I was in New Jersey with President Steele when we put together policy. And it was African Americans who started those policies. I wasn't with them. DeMar was with President Steele when the Shelby County case came down, which set all of these civil rights cases coming down, including gerrymandering and a whole bunch of things in the Voter Rights Act. We were setting policy, and I'm just saying we need to have a better system of disseminating towards us.
Yes.
And this is a fantastic panel.
Thank you. Yes, yes, yes.
Also, the systems need to be in place. The kind of information that you got from everybody up here, which is wildly important, from how to give to campaign, how to support organizations.
Exactly.
Some of the remarks here really quick, then I'm gonna stop, because I'm not the kind of feel like I'm giving
Yeah, we do have a time limit. Okay. So,
You start a YouTube page, right?
oh yeah.
And everybody joined those pages for the civil rights of these organizations, they'll generate their own money. They don't
Yeah.
give anybody a dime.
Yeah. So yeah, it's in the numbers.
Oh, for the library.
So 100% accurate. Everything that everybody is saying is 100% on the money. But you're putting the cart before the horse because you're saying all of this based on the assumption that people are in the know or have the knowledge to understand.
We keep saying that.
Education.
And why, and what we say is, and Woody Whippy, what's in it for me? Why should I care? Why does it matter to me? We get it. But the people who we need to understand does it, and that's where the opportunity continues to exist. Blocking. We have people who go against their own self-interest.
Yes.
And you think it's because they want to harm themselves?
Mm-hmm.
It's not. Well, mental health is real, but for the most part, no. It's the
lack of knowledge.
We continue to address symptoms, in my opinion, and we never really cure the disease.
Right.
And we have to address the education piece.
Yeah.
The piece of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Quite frankly, there has to be some spirituality in there to be able to acknowledge that we're not as smart as we think we are. And that the people who we share spaces with are not as smart as we need them to be in order for there to be progress.
Right.
All of that is 100% accurate, but we unfortunately are not there yet. So you're going to continue to have people who
I know.
offer
Yeah.
which just sounds ludicrous to us. But because where they sit, they have no clue on what they're trying to accomplish and how it will progress and support them and people who look like them.
So let's cut out the cancer, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's get down to brass
Thank
tacks.
you.
My mom, baby boomer, she was born in 1946. I retired my mother 15 years ago. You want to know why? She's 78. It's not on her to carry her almost 50-year-old son. Sometimes, in order to allow the next generation to understand what it means to lead, you gotta back off. A lot of us are putting our children in a bubble and taking the ball further than we can, but we got gout, a busted leg, and some messed up shins trying to run it into the end zone. Now, show of hands, how many business owners are in here right now? Keep your hands up if the majority of your accounts are in a black-owned bank. That's your problem. If you have everybody else in your money, how in the world are you going to talk to me about unity? If everybody else is determining who you go. First of all, y'all ever see Oliver Twist? Because if you read it or seen the movie, the funny thing is he's going, please, sir, might I have more? But there are 23 black-owned banks right now that need our patronage, and we ignore them because we like Chase and Wells Fargo and all these other places. But we want to talk about, but what's the problem? Let's have a YouTube channel. Let's get a website. No, what we need to do is hedge our bets. I right now can go to my consortium and say, hey, let's go buy some land. But you know where we can't buy land in America? Anywhere in Chinatown, anywhere in the Diamond District, anywhere in the Jewish District, anywhere in the Delhi District. But guess what? They keep saying there's no money in the hood. Then why is the Chinese, the Asians, all of the black immigrants who are not foundational black Americans making money and then taking it out of our communities if there's no money there? The problem is we don't want to make the moves, but we want to pontificate about what we used to do and how we don't like each other, and we get so offended when somebody tells us the ugly truth. Well, the truth of the matter is you're a hypocrite if you sit up here and say you're a black-owned business that wants black people to move forward, and you don't even do money with the banks that are dying for your support. I don't want to hear it anymore. And if you don't like it, fix it, and don't get mad at me for being the one to tell you this, because to quote a good friend of mine, God rest his soul, I didn't create thug life, I diagnosed it. And whether you like it or not, and I'm going to land my plane on this, whether the orange man is in there or the feeble zombie who looked like Weekend at Bernie's is in the Oval Office, at the end of the day, the orange man is showing you that things can get done real quick. Because in 2 months, he got it done. I don't like what he did, but I like the way he's doing it, because it shows you that the people who are giving you lip service, who only show up to do the nay-nay and dance with Cardi B and throw Megan Thee Stallion in front of you, really have the power to do more than what they're actually doing. But they come around like it's ball of confusion saying, vote for me and I'll set you free, and you keep falling for it. That's why we are the only group in this country that has no diversity of votes. Even the gays have people on both sides of the aisle. If you think I'm lying, talk to Bruce. I'm sorry, Caitlyn Jenner. Until you're ready to have all those conversations, you might want to go back to the old school Proverbs 4:7, which says, in all thy getting, get an understanding.
I'm overwhelmed, overjoyed. Yeah, and I'm like, can you be on a panel tomorrow?
I'm here till Saturday.
I know you have a question. Yeah, you had your hand up, but let's just say this. Our next panel, as the moderator, I have a responsibility to manage time. Our next panel, it starts at 4, but we can go for about 4 or 5 more minutes. Okay.
I'm gonna address just one quick, I'm going another round. But HBCUs, I would say this, because I work with a lot of them, and then, so that's the new administration that's going on now, that they're not scared to make decisions.
Right.
I'm going straight to, historically, HBCUs were afraid to do business with black folk, they want to finance with the white people. And this HBCU that we gave over $500,000 worth of studies to, and we said, hey, we want the opportunity to compete on it. They wouldn't give us the contract. Then at the end of the day, they called us for donation, and then when they fired people out, who the first person they called, they got me the job. I tried to give you that golden parachute, and you said no. That's all I got to say about it. There are HBCUs that are doing some great things.
Yeah, yeah. Apostle Marquita.
Yes, so if I could just add this, I know we're closing out. So I sit on 7 nonprofit boards of directors, and my ministries are 90% tithers. You don't see that in the body. It's under 10%. And that's across the board, y'all. That's not just black people. That's across the board. You can't educate a broken soul. It's like putting water in a bucket with holes in it. There absolutely has to be healing. And I'm not telling you it has to happen this way or that way, but the truth is there has to be healing in our communities. And we've got to address it on social levels. We got to address it on political levels. We got to address it on family and financial levels, because there absolutely has to be the healing. When you get the healing, you can retain the information. I've literally seen things fly right out of people's head, and you giving them what they need, giving them the tool. So this is things we've got to invest back in ourselves. Other communities actually do that. We don't see it, but it happens. We've got to invest that back in ourselves.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
so,
but the point is there is some addressing. We've gotten to the place where we stopped doing that because we're focused more on the outward show. That's why we have a very powerful black dollar. Our black dollar goes to what we see. Why? Because we're covering up the holes in here. And so if you're looking at that, you've got to absolutely address what needs to happen. So like Kingdom Wealth, the business coaching business that I have, I offer free coaching to churches. And when tithes come in, I actually take up an offering at the end. It goes to that church. It doesn't go to me, my business. The point is to build up that house. But the invitations are rare because pastors are so concerned people are going to steal their sheep because they need to keep the tithes in the house. Broken, y'all see the trend? You see the trend here? That is something we have to address in all of these levels. And so just like the sister was saying, until we do, we're putting this water into buckets where the hole is going to go out, and it's going into the other communities.
yeah. So, and thank you very much for that. And we are at 4:01.
I guess
and
my
that
5
is
minutes is
no,
not gonna
no. I was gonna give you a 3, 2, 1.
Well, I'm going to jump in here and be really quick. To what Michael talked about, nobody advocating for black people, our organization, 10,000 Black Appraisers, did just that, to advocate for black people in the appraisal and valuation space, because we lose $200 billion in equity a year due to undervaluation. We lose another $100 billion a year for black farmers, and then we lose another $100 billion a year for heirs property. We have a short-term solution, which is offering reconsideration of value for people that feel like they've been undervalued. This process is the most fair process that was rescinded yesterday by the president. The process allows for people to be heard who feel like they've been undervalued. Now, the appraisal community will tell you that bias doesn't exist. I travel the country, and I beg to differ. The model is outdated, but through updating the valuation model with data science, utilizing evidence-based, data-driven analysis, we can mitigate the bias quite a bit. And it's also a fair process to the appraisers, because it doesn't accuse the appraiser of being biased or racist. What it does is ask the appraiser, how did you come to this conclusion? But you need to be able to articulate the argument in appraisal speak, which we are very good at doing. I have been an appraiser for 38 years. I've been a black man for 59. I'm extremely good at both of them. So
I like that.
I get to represent my people, and I get to represent my profession, and I don't take any shorts. And I don't take the responsibility lightly. As Dr. Steele said, he was committed to doing it and to his own peril. and my wife will tell you, Dr. Steele just told me not to cuss, but I done messed up the church's money. But God gave me a vision in order to do this and pursue this, and I'm blessed to have been working with Kevin over the last 14 years trying to bring value and work in this space, and I'm happy to see things coming to fruition. I love everybody on this panel. I wish I could have went first because everybody was super dynamic. But my lane is appraising and valuation, and that's what I specialize in. And we were trying to get it into the HBCUs, and we want to be able to fund it. But now we had to switch to a revenue generating model, which is our reconsideration of value. And again, we're doing it, and we're also specializing in offering the services to black farmers and heirs property, and we're traveling the country doing the training. We have our Outside the Barn series where we start, well, actually we'll be in Clayton County at the Clayton County Library this Saturday talking about heirs property training. And then on April the 5th, we'll talk about reconsideration of value, how to be able to do that. April the 12th, we'll talk about careers in farming and appraising. And on April the 19th, we'll be focusing on urban agriculture. So again, it's back to food security. How do we increase our wealth? And it comes through the land. So I'm being flagged off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Wrong signal. Okay. So again, we talk about the trauma that we've all suffered. I believe that if we, and this is from economist Bill Cunningham, it'll take 500 years for us to close the wealth gap. Our focus should be on improving our quality of life, and we can improve our quality of life with food security. So we've been working on agri-hood developments, cooperative living. We just did a class on how to appraise land trust. I'm looking to get with my sister in Minnesota to explore land trust and how we can improve affordable housing and living. But in the mixed-use rural developments, we're able to have mixed-use housing where we all used to live together, doctors, lawyers, trash collectors. So that's what we need collectively, but also we can do fresh farm to table. We can use the HOA fees to pay a farm manager. So there are all kind of opportunities in the space. And with aquaponics, hydroponics, and aeroponics, these are some of the things that we are working on. You can increase, that'll be in our Urban Ag series on April the 19th in Atlanta. And we'd love to bring our Outside the Barn series all across the country, but we're starting in Atlanta, so let us know.
Mr. Dawson, let me ask you a question. All of these events that you're holding, is there a place that people can go and find it? Do you have a handle?
So you can go to our website right now at 10kma.org.
Okay.
Our
Say it again.
10kma.org.
All right.
And our main website is 10kblackappraisers.com. It's under construction because we're revamping it. And I thought we would have it done, but we'll have it up and running. And you can also come to our YouTube channel, 10KMA Appraisal Podcast.
Okay.
10K.
So, well, one of the things that
10KMA
you might not know, Thaddeus, but we're creating a directory. And so we're going to put all of that information about everybody that is here so that you can stay in touch. And we're going not just stay in touch, we're going to be doing education policy workshops, which brings us to the next panel.
Can we also send a special shout out to Rick Clear back in the corner? He produces the SCLC podcast. He produces our podcast. And he always takes good care of us.
Where is he at?
He's back there in the corner.
Oh, Rick. Oh, okay. Hey, Rick.
We affectionately
came all the way up from ATL.
Yeah, so
okay.
we affectionately refer to him as Slick Rick. So
yes. So thank you, everybody. Okay. We don't, but.
We have to get in the mindset of learning to come together and resource our solutions.
You can really start to make a difference and get them to wake up and pay attention.